1-0 victory for Canada over Wales. We'll dive into that game specifically in just a moment, guys. But that's 2 games now against European teams where they defeated them on European soil. Both of them clean sheets. First time in history, by the way, in back-to-back games beating European teams on European soil. What do you just make overall of Canada's performance in this window, Wheels?
Mission accomplished. It's just about as good as it gets. I gave the last performance against Romania a 10 out of 10. I'm going to give this one an 8.5 out of 10 this time. I honestly, I think this window was about a couple things. Getting back on track, check, back-to-back wins, finding solutions to some of the potential problems. 3 new defenders coming in for Davies, Bombito, Johnston, able to keep clean sheets in both games with standout performances from said defenders who came in to replace those perceived starters. That's a check there. A massive improvement in set pieces. You know, you scored the goal off the free kick in the game against Romania. Tonight, it's Derek Cornelius from a dead ball. Check. The starting 11 was really, really good. And now there's players competing for positions. Check. So I think it's good vibes all around. And the window just about went as good as one could have imagined.
Sorry, I'm smiling because
is it just a smile? Is that all we're getting?
Dramatic pause.
Honestly, Jordo, this better be the best analysis ever because we are waiting.
It's not, and that's why I'm laughing. It's not. It was a dramatic pause that I wish I saved for another time in the show.
I thought a banger of a line was coming.
No, they were great. These are 2 top back-to-back performances. Yeah, I gotta build it up again. I gotta save myself. But no, Wheels is so right. Even though Canada had 37% possession, what did we say before these games? What did I say in particular? I don't care. I don't care that they pressed. I don't care that they got yellow cards. I don't care that there were 16 fouls because they stuck to the game plan and they won. Not only did they win today, but they won back-to-back. And you look at a window, you have 1 goal that's let in as well. You have a 3-0 win against Romania, and you have a 1-0 win today. Come on. 2 clean sheets? This is what you want. This is productivity. So it's a feel-good day all around. Obviously, you're going to look at the 3 goals against Romania and how they were scored. And you're like, oh, okay, Canada, you start to dream. But this one almost means more to me because it was tidy. There were loose passes in the midfield. It wasn't as a performance that was so dominating. But when you score and you don't get scored on, you win every match. Simple math, Trills. I know you love that one. When you score and the other team doesn't score, you win the match 1-0. We'll take it. And that is a performance you can bring into the World Cup. Tidy.
Well, let's talk about what led to the 1-0 victory, and that was Derek Cornelius. You said it, dead ball, free kick, laser, left foot in the net, first for country as well. Is this Canada's new free kick taker, Wheels?
Who's the player that's better at this point? That's my question. It's kind of funny, and this is going to be a challenge for Jesse Marsh once Alphonso Davies comes back into the team because he's been the player that's essentially been taking the lead, taking onus on some of these set piece opportunities. So you had Cornelius today. You had Ali Ahmed providing service, not only from the left-handed side corner kicks, from set pieces from the right side as well. Eustachio will be in the mix as well. So perhaps there's a little bit of a changing of the guard. Like typically, you know, you wouldn't expect the center back to step up and hit it like he does. But I look at Canada's players, even the most talented ones in attack, they're not the players that from dead balls that you look to be the most convincing. Perhaps Jonathan David's the one that you're a little bit surprised, but perhaps this is just not something that he's comfortable with. But Buchanan and Ahmed and Olosi, like their best attributes are their athleticism, their directness, their speed, their pace. It's perhaps not the dead ball situation. So, I mean, the job, it's been screaming out for someone to take it. Now Derek Cornelius has stepped up. And that was a great finish, like a phenomenal finish from Cornelius. I didn't know that he had that in his locker, to be honest with you. I had no clue. And we've been watching him for years now, whether it's with the Canada youth programs, with the Whitecaps abroad. I just always looked at him as more of a player that would be able to get on the end of a set piece rather than hit a dead ball like that. So as of right now, it's not just him, Andy. I think it's Ali Ahmed that's that staked his claim. for dead ball duty as well. So those two players and how that will actually work out when Davies comes back into the team, it's going to be very interesting because it's going to be a case of who's providing the best service. And I think we found at least two players that are superior at that.
And we know sometimes coaches will pick the player because if they don't, I mean, that's drama for us. Who doesn't want to see a good scrap on the field between two teammates over who's going to take the free kick? Yeah. But when you have that many guys, I wonder if Jesse Marsch at some point has to say, like, you're the guy that's going to do it if it's on this side, if it's on that side, because, you know, this is a great problem to have. No doubt, but it's also a lot of guys showing they can do it, Jordan.
Well, you just mentioned it, Andy, and that's the biggest thing that stuck out to me. It's the range and area of this free kick of the foul that Saliba won. I thought he was great today as well. But it's on that right side, perfect for a left footer. And Cornelius could just say, look, this is me. Keep in mind, guys, let's put it in context. He hit one at someone's shin on Romania just a couple of days ago. Right? And still had the confidence to be like, you know, I'm going to put this down. This is my sweet spot. Get it over Ben Davies, who's that 5'11". He was the one that just skinned the nick of his head. If he had a throw hawk, it could have got a flick. Just goes over him perfectly, but it's a world-class finish. I love the way that he took it, but I think what Wheels is, what I noticed when Wheels is speaking is that people need to have designated roles going into June and going into this World Cup. And if it's on that right side, 23 yards out, that might be Cornelius's free kick because no one else can hit that one. Or we haven't seen. If it's on the other side, Hoylett's on. I like those chances. I love that. So I think also Davies and players that have been taking them have to respect the ones that have just scored goals and just hit that last one so perfectly.
But there's a lack of one left-footed players in this Canada team, so that set up for Cornelius better than anyone else on the field at that time. But again, when Davies comes back, how does that situation look? Does Alphonso Davies is Cornelius now the set piece guy, or is it Alphonso Davies? Because it's not if Davies is going to be back in the team; it's when and how. So that will have to play out in due time.
I think if it drops right there, 24 yards out, you have to give it to Cornelius. He's the only one to hit that one. I don't expect Cornelius to be taking right-sided free kicks. Get him in the box because he's actually dangerous there as well. But if it's in that shooting range, you have to respect the person who just scored that cash money goal. You have to.
I think we're all in agreement with the players who have been called upon here in defense and midfield have really stood out. Luke de Frugerolles obviously looking good. Seagour looking good. Saliba looking good. I want to go up front first because we'll talk about guys who have really stood out. But up front, Tani Oluwaseyi once again starting with Jonathan David. Do you feel like you have any answers, Wheels, on who could be the guy starting next to David?
I'll echo the sentiments that I shared earlier in the week. I just think that Oluwaseyi is the favorite for Jesse Marsch. He was okay today. He's fine. He suits the style of play. Oftentimes players, don't need to jump off the page or score a goal or set up a goal to do a job that the manager will be pleased with. And I just think that the way that he presses, his positioning, his athleticism, all of those things are trademarked to what Jesse Marsch wants. Promise David coming into this camp was hampered with a little bit of an injury, so he was in the mix. Kyle Larin doesn't have the legs that Oluwaseyi does. Jefferson, I think, can have that, but will he be in a position to show the discipline and execute what Jesse Marsch wants? Because it's not just your hold-up play or your finish inside the 18. It's the way that he leads the press. That's what I think is critically important. That's when Canada's at their best, when they're forcing turnovers, when other teams are trying to play out of the back and kind of repressing oftentimes after they lose possession. And that's what I think that Oluwaseyi does really well. So I still think that he's the favorite. And by some margin in Jesse Marsch's eye. I don't necessarily have the same opinion, but I understand why Marsch prefers that player and why he's probably leaning in that direction. Back-to-back starts, Sandy. Again, some pretty big-name players, absent or lack of availability plays into it, but I still think Oluwaseyi is the guy right now.
Mm-hmm. Jesse Marsch clearly rates the 25-year-old, and it's his spot to lose. Like, I was waiting for a moment where you're like, okay, you play Promise David, you start him, someone else gives him competition, but Wheels is absolutely right, and I echo that sentiment as well. It's Tani Oluwaseyi's spot to lose in the next 8 months, and personally, I just don't think he's going to lose it. I think he'll be starting June 11th, 12th, whenever that first game is. It'll be him with David, based on what Wheels just said. The press, the way he looks comfortable, like suffering sometimes and running after center backs, but also again, this is 2 times back-to-back where I'm going to comment about his shots over the bar, but he still gets into a position off of sheer pace and desire to get in behind a back line. He did it against Romania. He did it today against Wales. And that, for me, is what Jesse Marsch is looking for. He's looking for someone who wants to attack that space, who keeps making those runs and doesn't get discouraged when he doesn't get the ball. And he just needs one of those moments for that player to score. So I expect Tani Oluwaseyi to get 60 to 75 minutes, and maybe a Promise David, maybe a Kyle Larin, maybe someone else is in the fold getting some minutes to finish off games. But that's his guy. That's very clear to see.
So Canada comes off with these 2 wins, and I'm wondering if you see this as a statement window for them, given the fact that if you juxtapose it with the Americans and their performances, they have yet to play. They're playing Japan tonight, but obviously coming off, a loss against South Korea, and everyone's now wondering if they gave up too early on Berhalter and if Pochettino really is the answer. I mean, because there's turmoil there, and what Canada's doing over here, does it become a statement window for them, Wheels, and they start to kind of look like the better team in CONCACAF?
A little bit. I mean, you don't want to compare yourself to the Americans right now. I understand why, both host nations, CONCACAF nations, but where the Americans look lifeless, Canada and their manager are out there busy teaching life lessons. Like, the dichotomy there is just one that's plain to see for everyone else. I don't know if that's going to catch the attention of other nations worldwide, like Wales and Romania, who both had bigger fixtures this window in terms of World Cup qualifiers. An experimental side from Wales today. Canada higher seed than both of those teams play. I think it's more of a statement to Canadians more so than anything else. Coming out of the summer, having significant and relevant questions about what this group was going to be all about, going about playing this way. I thought it was entertaining football as well. It was spirited. There was focus. So maybe more for us as Canadians rather than kind of world football. But when you go in and play teams like Colombia and you can make some noise in the next window, that's going to be a step up in competition. But certainly this will boost the confidence that when on home soil, you happen to play teams like this during the group stage, that Canada should be favored, and they can, and most likely will be expected to get the job done at that point. So in that way, yes, but I just don't think it's something resounding where it's going to catch the bigger, like the top 20 nations of the world and put them on notice. I think the way they play is something that I think other nations should be taking notice of, but the results against these countries who are kind of like mid-level competing for World Cup spots rather than locks, these are games that Canada probably should have got results based upon the context.
Coming into these 2 games, they were inconsistent, right? Canada maybe had a performance where you start a Gold Cup and you play Honduras and you're great, but then like you go against Guatemala and you lose. Like, there's just so many inconsistencies in such a short time. What I love about this is back-to-back clean sheets. This is a game where you scored in both of those games. It's a game for majority where sometimes you suffered, but you also dominated, had big chances. Richie Laryea, that's a penalty, stone cold. So you can call that 2-0. It's as clear as it gets, but whatever. Mm-hmm. I digress. I just love that now there's back-to-back performances, because when you're playing this game, it's so easy to have a standout game, and then the next 3 days, you're flat. But there are 2 games where people could look at. Kone was better today than he was against Romania, and he was very good against Romania. This is what I like. I like maybe Tajon didn't get all the praise that he did against Romania, but it's still a top performance. Dufrugerol played better today than he did just a few days ago. This is progress. This is what they need to get. Because now if you can raise it that much higher, this is the new barometer of where this team is at. So this was a standout window for me, but I agree with Wheels. In the worldwide scheme, they're like, okay, these are just 2 teams that you should beat. But for us who watch this team and have suffered with them, this is a feel-good story for sure.
Feel good as well, not just because of the results, but because of the bodies that were not available to them. Again, great decimated back line heading into this game. Stefan Eustachio having to leave, picking up an injury against Romania. And I always said it was going to be a glass half full or glass half empty based on the results, right? It's either like, if they lose, this is the worst thing ever because of all these big name players who are missing. If they win, this is great, guys, because this is death and this is hope for the future. So obviously we're on the glass half full. Who stood out to you, Wheels?
I thought the best player over the 2 games for Canada was Ismail Kone. I thought he was done. He showed
say it again.
Why I've been saying this for months. People are saying like he's the wild card or the X factor. This guy is the real deal. They need him playing and starting in central midfield come the World Cup because he can do things that other players can't. He's big, he's strong, he's progressive, he can carry the ball forward. I just thought he was unbelievably good over these 2 games and show why he needs to be a fixture in the starting 11. And it's bewildering why he wasn't a bigger part of the process over the course of the 2 tournaments, the Nations League and the Gold Cup. Like it really didn't make any sense. So the fact that he's being trusted and he kind of broke out with real big performances, that was huge. I'll echo my sentiment from the last 2 games. The 2 fullbacks in Seagor and Larea, they're in right competition for the spots. And they perfectly complement the 2 players in Buchanan and Ahmed that were playing in front of them as well. So I thought they were great. Jonathan David was just doing Jonathan David things. But the player who Jesse Marsh, like on the broadcast, they were talking about Richie Larea. We were talking about Richie Larea earlier in the week. If you're Jesse Marsh, how are you going to wrap your head around taking Ali Ahmed out of this team? Like, and how are you going to fit him into your starting 11? Look, not every player who's starting for countries worldwide, some really good countries, is quote unquote the best player. They're players who fit in terms of a system and a team concept. The fact that Ahmed is willing to put in the work defensively, grind, press, get forward in attack. He's being dangerous. He's awkward to defend. We've spoke about that before. And the fact now that he's taken really good set pieces, I don't know. He's just a player for me. I'm trying to find a way for him to be in my starting 11 because he was that effective. He is an absolute pain in the ass to play against. In January, I would be shocked if he doesn't move on to play in Europe somehow. Like he is that good to play at a very, very good level. I think he's criminally underrated. And I don't know, like I look at that player, although Kone was the best, I'm just looking at Ali Ahmed. How does Jesse Marsh take him out of the team? I'd love to hear the answer to that question, especially when Alphonso Davies comes back into the setup.
Okay. Who stood out to you, Jordan?
It was Kone's camp with the K. Just for Wheels, because Wheels loves that type of stuff. And I'm trying to learn from my big dog, Kone's camp. I'm going to talk about Richie Larea and that ball that Ben Davies plays to Harry Wilson, and he's going to score. And Richie Larea says, take that touch. I'm quick enough to get it on the second one, and pokes it away. I don't know how Jesse Marsh can feel comfortable having Richie Larea on the bench come into the next 8-9 months. This guy is a different class. Everything you ask him to do, he does. He does a little giveaway, he wins it back. He wins a foul. He gets forward. He's just that Energizer bunny that gets his team moving. Of course, this was Kone's camp. Tejan Buchanan, great to have you back, brother. Different class. Ali Ahmed, I love that now he's putting pressure. Also on Schaffelberg, because Schaffelberg's saying, okay, I might be 4th string now if this is a situation, or 3rd string if Ali Ahmed's playing this good. But this is what you want in the competition. But I love this window because for those players, I got to give Luc de Figueroa as well a shout out, because the biggest thing I say about young center backs is you don't have that leadership quality because you're still young. You're telling people that are older than you or that have played more games than you where to be, and sometimes you're a bit quiet or timid. What I love about him, he just went on with his business. Tackles, runs in the channels, the header off the line to help out Dane St. Clair. He's doing what he needs to do, and he's growing in that confidence. So this is a good window all around. This for me, when I was watching this game with my Atkins Saltfish and Festival, it wasn't the food that I was eating that was the best part. It was the players. You don't know Atkins Saltfish and Festival? The Jamaicans know. Don't they?
Just on de Fougereau really quickly, my only disappointment really was the fact that Kiefer Moore wasn't on the field for Wales. If you don't know Kiefer, he's just a big, sizable, he's a handful, just a big man. Like playing Harris, I don't know if he really was good enough to challenge Cornelius. And de Fougereau was a little bit straightforward. Romania's attack was kind of listless. I would have loved to see, because I think that this is going to be the big test for de Fougereau, is when he steps up in competition. Players that are bigger, faster, stronger than him, because he's still like men, because he's still just a teenager. So until he faces that kind of battle, I'm going to reserve my overall evaluation. But like, I love the way that he gets on the ball with confidence. His distribution is excellent. There's confidence, class, and intelligence there. So he has the makings of being something good. It's just how quickly this World Cup comes. Because if you go up and play those big dudes, like, what's that going to look like? Because that's where he might struggle a bit. But who knows? He might rise to that challenge as well, Jordan. Like, it just remains to be seen. I need to see it a little bit more.
No,
well, guess
this
what?
window didn't test them.
You'll get to see it because the men will be back in action October. That's right, October 10th. They'll take on Australia.
Dogs have a lot to say about this.
They love Luke.
They're very excited. They're big Luke fans.
Big Diffuser fans.
Big Kone fans. They're just big fans. They're also big fans of Canada versus Australia, Canada versus Colombia, October 10th and 14th.